You know who loves Izotope? This guy. Everyone here at Ruinous Media can't get enough of Izotope's intuitively designed plugins for audio restoration, mixing, and mastering. This year, make a resolution to yourself to say goodbye to bad audio and hello to super clear, wide, dynamic, clean audio using Izotope RX11 and the new Ozone 12. Master every track's potential with their complete 20-tool suite. Go to izotope.com and use code FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. That's FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. And go to izotope.com. That spelling is izotope.com. I'd like to welcome our newest sponsor, Schecter Guitars. This holiday season, go over to schecterguitars.com and see what high-quality goodies they have waiting there for you. Premium feel and unbeatable price. See why guitarists like Isaac Brock from Modest Mouse, Robert Smith from The Cure, and Ernie C. from Body Count all love Schecter Guitars. A wide variety of styles and builds with high-end components and affordable prices for touring guitarists. Built to last. Go treat yourself and try something new you've always wanted to check out. Schecter Guitars has it all. Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too.
You say punk, they have an idea of what, but I'm like, the label, for instance, which I see as a DIY punk label, there's like stuff that's like, I put out a Misery Index record that's like a trashy grind band, and then there's stuff that kind of sounds like Dinosaur Jr., and then there's all this stuff is gathered together or it has relation to each other in the way that it's done.
What's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into Hyphenate. This is me, your host, Randy Randall. This is our show for Thursday, April 2nd. On today's show, we take a break from Mix Master March. Well, I guess March is over. I still have one more interview I want to get up there. Pete Lyman, who's an incredible mastering engineer. But just so many good interviews. And this interview today with Justin Smith from Sweat is important because he has a new record coming out. Sweat has a record coming out tomorrow. It is called Tear It Down. It is available on Vitriol Records. I wanted to make sure that everyone knows about this band. Justin Pearson from The Locust et al. Told me about Def Club and many other bands. Told me about Justin Smith and his band Sweat and his label Vitriol, and I thought, this sounds awesome. I really like the record. It's called Tear It Down. It's coming out tomorrow. They're going to be on tour. They, what's next? They just did a bunch of shows. They did Riverside, San Francisco, Sacramento, Reno, Salt Lake City. Yesterday they were in Denver. Tonight they're in Colorado Springs. And then tomorrow, Albuquerque. And then Saturday, Tempe, Arizona. Then Saturday, 4/11, they'll be in San Diego, the Print Shop. Then Sunday, 4/12, Los Angeles at the Echo. I'm going to go to that show. Yeah, they're awesome. They're a great band. And Justin is a legit right-on dude. He makes cool music, and he's been doing it for a long time, and he's got a great label, and he puts his money where his mouth is, and he's doing it, man. It's great. It's great to, it was a great conversation to have with him. And I love getting to learn a little bit more about his world and his music. You know, I think punk is such that interesting thing. You know, he was talking about it there at the beginning of the show, the clip I pulled out. You know, punk can mean so many different things, but it really comes down to a point of view is the way I see it. You know, I think I subscribe to that idea of punk as a state of mind. You know what I mean? It's not really about the music or about how you dress. I think we've come through so many different fashion phases and style changes and all these kind of things. But really, I think punk is is who you are. You know what I mean? I think it's a finger in the eye. It's standing up for what you believe in. It's having fun with your friends. It's making art that is challenging in one way or another, and that changes, you know, to what the culture is that you're challenging and what time you're in. You know, I think just because something was done 40 years ago in the name of punk and it was called punk then, you know, it's a different world. We're 40 years later. There's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences. And I think, you know, you have to be alive and active in your time and responding to what's going on. You know, I think there's a lot in the world right now to respond to. And I think punk is a great place for that. to put a wide net around current political situations in life in America and art. But I like Justin Smith. I like the way he's doing it. I think he's representing punk in all kinds of ways, musically, artistically, business wise. You know, I think he's a real DIY artist and businessman, and I respect that man. I think he's cool. I think he's awesome. So go see Sweat out on tour now. And the new record, Tear It Down, is available everywhere. But you can go to vitriolrecords.bigcartel.com to buy it from him directly, which is the best way to do it. Go straight to the label, go straight to the artists. There's a link in the show notes. You can go there. You can also go to the Bandcamp, vitriolrecords.bandcamp.com, to hear all these other great bands they're putting out. But you can also buy the record digitally there. And then you can follow them on the Instagram. Sweat_rockers is their Instagram name. Go see where they're playing, on tour when they will be in your town. And then you can also follow Vitriol_records on Instagram as well to see all of the great bands that Justin is putting out on his rad label. And just keep up with everything they're doing. It is worth your time. I'm telling you, it is. It's awesome. It's good music made by good people. And they seem to be doing it right. So I'm stoked. I got to chat with Justin, get to know him a little bit better. And here is that interview for y'all. Justin, what's happening? Thanks so much for coming on Hyphenate. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we were introduced by a mutual friend, Justin Pearson from The Locust and Def Club and so many
every band.
Yeah.
Every band
talks. Yes. How do you know JP?
Going back some years with one of my older bands, it was called Graf Warlock. We had played quite a bit with Retox, and let's see how much different age. Maybe I'm 6 or 7 years, maybe 6 years younger than Justin.
Okay.
And I kind of grew up seeing his bands play. So as time went on, we started working together with my label, and he had worked with another of my friends, Curran, that works with The Chain, which is Justin's PR thing.
Yeah,
so we have a lot of like touch and go connections. We just played a fest together in Florida in October.
Awesome.
So I get to see him around quite a bit.
That's great. And whereabouts did you grow up? Where did you first start going to seeing shows?
In Orange County.
Okay. Cool.
California. So I don't know exactly where you're based.
I grew up in the Inland Empire, and now I'm up here in northern LA area by Burbank.
Okay. So yeah, my stretch as a kid was basically between the Che and the Smell.
Oh,
and then
okay.
So like everything between that.
There we go.
But a lot of Chain Reaction when I was younger, because that's from where I live now, it's like maybe 10 minutes. And yeah. I grew up like really like my foundation and my heart was in Santa Ana, the original Coos Cafe on Main Street.
Yeah. When it was at a house? When it was still at that house?
Yeah. It was an old restaurant house, and like that's where I played my first show in 99,
awesome.
Maybe. And then it moved briefly to a drop-in center in Garden Grove, and then it ended up in
Long Beach
on Broadway in Linden.
I played many shows there in Long Beach.
So that was like the home of one of my older bands. Like we volunteered there and stuff like that. So that's kind of like my lineage is with those places, I suppose.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. I just had Mira, who was on K Records, and she played solo at the original Coos Cafe. I remember seeing her in probably about 2000. It was funny. We were just talking about
Yeah,
Coos, and that original location was so cool. And her thing was really kind of
yeah.
intimate. She played like an acoustic guitar, and it was awesome. I was like, this is so rad.
That's like whenever I run into someone that has like any history with that place, I mean, we're getting further and further away from it now because,
Sure.
we're all aging, but it, it kind of holds like a place in my heart because it was such a weird place. It was literally a living room, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I think in October at the fest in Gainesville, I was talking to Justin about this because I'd seen him play there in like March of 2000, and it was just utter chaos in this living room. And it was like the pre-mask locust period.
Okay,
Locust
yeah.
period.
Amazing. What about a showcase out in Rialto? Did you ever make it out there to see shows?
I did go to the Corona one or the Rialto one?
Corona. Sorry, yeah, Corona. Yeah.
Yeah, I started going there somehow when I was like in junior high.
Yeah,
like if I
it was all
get
ages.
rides.
Yeah.
So I saw quite a lot of bands there. And then, like I mentioned, my other band, Graph Warlock, they just ended 2 years ago. We played one of the last shows there. But I think the first time I ever played there was in the summer of 2000. And I have some fond memories of that place. But I feel like every time I went and played there as like a kid, it was always like, you're late. You have 15 minutes to play. You're playing first no matter what.
Yeah, it's a good way to grow up. Like, what did I do wrong? I didn't know I even did anything.
Constantly in trouble for existing.
Amazing, cool, man. Well, yeah. Well, tell me about Sweat. You guys have a new record. It sounds incredible. It's really awesome. Yeah, tell me about making the record and just a little bit about the band and how it sort of came together.
The band is kind of an accelerated version of a normal band for a couple of different reasons. It had started prior to COVID. We played 3 shows before COVID happened. Actually, this record that's about to come out is like, we have 2 7-inches and this is the 3rd LP since 2020. So it's been kind of accelerated because during COVID, one of my really good friends that record this record and records most of our records, just in August of 2020, he drove down here to pick up some gear for his studio. And he's like, I'm selling you this digital board with my old like Pro Tool setup. So what I did for that next 18 months is just like record a million things. And that ended up being a lot of this material, not for this record, but maybe like, I feel like in my experience in other bands, it's taken twice as long to get out as much stuff. But this band started because the drummer Anthony and I were in another band called Dangers, and my other band Graph Warlock, we had gone to the Northeast in maybe 2018 to play a couple shows, and the singer couldn't go like 2 weeks before. He's like, can you just cancel the flights? I'm like, no, it's like all these things are like no refund flights. Like it costs $100 more to get a flight you can refund, right? So we were still going, and then Tuna, who sings in the band, she's done a million things. She's a wrestler. She works at Amoeba, has worked there forever. She used to have a house in East Hollywood that used to do shows. And all of my bands in the past had played there. And she's always like, let's start a band. I'm like, no, I have too many bands. And then we were going to play this show, and it was kind of these shows, and it was kind of a grindy band. This is what I used to play with Justin's band. And I'm like, do you want to go sing? And we just showed up with her singing. And people were like, at first, and they're like, okay. And they're used to abusing the singer, and she's doing the opposite. I walk around pushing people and confusing all the male showgoers. So when we got back, I'm like, all right, let's start a band. And then this band started, and it was kind of like everyone that we always played in hardcore bands, but trying to do something a little bit more like different, less distorted, more maybe classic rocky.
Yeah.
I share love of Thin Lizzy and all things Swami, like was the root of it.
That's great. Yeah, no, you can hear so much of that in there. I mean, there's the Stooges, there's so much great straight ahead stuff in there.
I love that shit. I love it's cool to have played in a bunch of different heavier bands and then to try to like kind of pull it back a little bit. Or like actually write what people refer to as music, which like maybe there's a chorus somewhere, who knows? But that was cool. Even I would normally play in drop C or in D standard sometimes, but this is all in standard. So it's like you think about the chords a different way. You think about voicings a different way. I listened to a lot of Slade and Thin Lizzy and all that stuff during just trying to get out of that mindset a little bit to different kind of melodicism and
I mean,
whatever maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crash course in melody and every Thin Lizzy song, especially with the harmonized guitars too. I mean, you add that to the, if they just had one guitar, it'd be still one of the greatest bands ever. But then you put the two guitars in there, you're just kind of like, okay, now you've really done it. Now we've entered into another territory of what music could be and how great it is. And Phil Lynot's, singing and just songwriting over those guitar melodies. It's wild.
We refer to him as King Phil because, he's like, it's like, in reference to the Swami stuff, we always joke and say that Swami's like riff Midas and Phil is like song Midas, like he was a whole thing. And you put on one of those records, like, on New Year's, there's a screen printing shop that I screen print most of my stuff up the street from my house. And, they were doing there was a Thin Lizzy cover band playing.
Oh, nice.
At 8:00, one of my friends is like, yo, this thing's happening tonight. I'm like, here I go. So I went and I'm like, this better not suck. And it ripped, and then
it's not an easy thing to pull off. Did they have a good name? Did they have a punny name on it? Or
I don't.
Skin Lizzy? And they're all shirtless?
I don't think so. Okay. I have a funny story about that. The first show that I saw back out of COVID was a band called Think Lizzy.
Oh, okay.
But they were playing at a crab festival in San Antonio. I happened to be there, and it was it was an Irish guy, so you got to give him that. But it was a white Irish guy, and he comes out and he comes back with a reflective Fender bass, Phil style, and he had a fake afro on. I was like, oh no, we can't do this here. But the band on New Year's ripped.
Oh, okay.
So we had to, of course, get in an argument about what is the best record.
Oh, where do you stand with
and
this?
What was left of? I think a lot of people would say Jailbreak because that has the hits on it. But for me, it's Chinatown.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Little darker, little sleazier.
It's got,
Black Rose.
Sleaze is good. Black Rose is sick too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that mid-era stuff. The conversation about Renegades and the last records and the very first records are kind of they hit their stride in the middle.
Yeah. Oh man, but overall, an incredible body of music. I mean, I put on the Cowboy song for my kids the other day. We're in the car, and my one son is getting into Metallica, my oldest son, and I was like, well, these guys, Metallica covered Thin Lizzy. I have a Phil Lynott sticker on my coffee mug that I take, to drop them off at school every day. And I'm like, there's hints out there that what this is. I'm just going to put it on and see where he was at with it. And he's like, okay. Once I told him that Metallica covered him, he's like, okay, I can go with this. But I guess Cowboy song doesn't feel as tough as some of the other songs. It's a little bit softer.
It's a tearjerker. But it's
great. It's a beautiful song. I mean, in terms of melody and drumming and everything. Cause
it reflects his obsession with the Southwest somehow, which is an interesting kind of thing. Yeah.
Desert
idea. Because I was thinking about this the other day. Actually, it's funny you brought up the Cowboy song because I was thinking about it the other day about how cowboys in American history were a relatively short period of time in American history. And the kind of romanticism that exists about the latent freedom of being out in kind of miserable elements is a kind of a funny thing that Americans kind of grasp onto.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's part of the mythology. It's one of those things like jazz, but but in its own kind of more probably problematic way. The cowboy myth, I think, is a play on any of these kind of lone wolf men on a journey. Probably has more to do with adolescence than anything else in terms of it's
an army of one
making. Yeah, it's I think you would see it in samurai sort of films or these same sort of things. I think the movie industry did a lot for the cowboy idea. You know what I mean? Just even this idea of a cowboy.
Yeah.
And then so much of sci-fi is it's a Western set in space. It's a samurai film set in space. A lot of similarities in that kind of way. Yeah.
Oh, the Jedi, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The Jedi is a space samurai, right?
Yeah. It's all in there. But
I was also thinking about this. So I was in Japan in April, and I was talking to one of my friends there that the warring clans period is called the Sengoku Jedi.
Oh.
And I thought I'm like, come on, George Lucas.
You could try a little bit harder,
man.
Right, yeah. Or even, like Darth Vader is like in Dutch, like Dark Father. Or it means, you know what I mean? You're like, okay, you're not that
Father, yeah. You had mentioned Metallica, and I was like a Metallica kid when I was growing up. And so that was part of like the shift into like other forms of downpick mayhem, which I appreciate because like Hetfield was all downpicking basically and like really fast. And then other groggy stuff is like the shift into that for me to like, I was a big like Master of Puppets person when I was a kid. And I actually first heard of Thin Lizzy by reading a book about Metallica and James being obsessed with Thin Lizzy.
It's great.
And I was like in elementary school, but it's a cool, I don't know, it's a cool connection. There are a million cringy things about Metallica, of course, but there's a lot
of great stuff too. I mean, it definitely, I've grown to appreciate them over the years.
Core body of work is unfuckwithable.
But I think even all of the bad stuff or all of the questionable stuff, I think sort of helps to sort of fill out a fuller picture of a band, in the life of a band. They're probably one of the most documented bands on Earth at this point. I mean, they've been around longer than the Beatles. They've been around, for so long and released so many records. It's really, there's a lot of stories.
They've been around like 4 times longer than the Beatles by now.
But you think about how many documentaries can you have about the Beatles? Like, we discovered another roll of film. Like, we're going to make a 17-hour documentary about this one. I'm like, oh, fuck off. Like, I get it. This is the most documented 6 years ever.
The last one that just came out was the of them like in the studio, and Peter Jackson had somehow put
and more AI
like
on it.
He had used the stuff from the World War I documentary made. They will never grow old, to like kind of get the voicing of old silent movies. and that's a little bit crazy. But the Metallica stuff, I was talking about it. This is funny because there's a lot of stuff to talk about in the last week I've had conversations about Load and Reload, the late mid era Metallica, how they're like, they can be accepted as great rock records, maybe like in that period of time. Like, I don't know if you're talking about like 95 or something, 96, but they will never, like it's not the immediacy of the previous records. That was kind of the downfall of And Justice for All, is that the songs got to be like 9 minutes long. And it lost a little bit. They're still pissed, but it lost a little bit of the immediacy that might have existed in Kill 'Em All, of course, when you're 19.
Oh yeah. But well, I mean, it's they have that thing. They have, that's the pressure to change and to evolve, yet don't change too much and to stay the same. At a certain, you're around long enough to, you can only go down at some point in any career. You know what I mean? You have no choice, and it's not really your fault. You want to keep making music, but you can, you'll have to disappoint, and then there'll be the triumphant return, right? You know what I mean? It's like you have to just that roller coaster of any long career. We should all be lucky enough to be in a band where we're able to make a record that sucks and still be millionaires. Like,
dude, even being in kind of like shitty unknown punk bands is like, if you stick around long enough, there will be people that show up. They're like, hey, my dad used to take me to see you guys play, and and they're like, how old are you? And there's, hey, why doesn't this record sound like the one from 10 years ago? And you're like, because 10 years ago I was 10 years younger, and you get tired of playing and there are some things, like especially in extreme music, like you can only go so extreme before you have to go back a different direction. Like
you got to keep it interesting for yourself.
So fast. Yeah.
It's crazy. So when did you first start playing music? What was that? What was your journey like to that? When you first picked up a guitar, and what were those really bands like? Was it high school bands?
Junior high probably. This relates back to Metallica because I started playing guitar when I was like 11, and I'm 43 now. So I don't think I've done anything that long, but maybe write and eat. But I have an older brother that's 4 years older than me. He's going to be 48 in June, and so we had little like acoustic guitars, and he started playing. He got really into Metallica, and I got into like Danzig and all of Danzig's bands and stuff like that. But I remember learning Jump in the Fire so he could play the solo for it. And that's like how I kind of got into it. And then in the end of elementary school and in the junior high, like got into like some bands in junior high, but I never played a show until I was like a junior in high school. And then I started touring when I was 19.
That's awesome.
So it's been a long road.
And it keeps going. It just keeps getting longer. Jump in the Fire. I had a friend's band, Mika Miko, that covered that song. It was a part of the set. Those were fun. I did it in a disco sort of way. It was really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wait, how old were you when you started touring?
Let's see. I'm 40. I just turned 45 now. The first West Coast tour I did with a band before No Age was called Wives, and we played up the West Coast, and I think it was 2002. And then we did our first U.S. tour in 2003. And so
just about the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Miko too.
Yeah. They're great. And we played a lot of shows with them in those early years. I think that 2003 tour, we came down the West Coast with them. We met them. I think we were finishing our kind of U.S. side. We met them in Seattle and then came down. And it was great.
I think people that are, that kind of develop or become like active bands outside of like your neighborhood, at that time period, it was a really weird time, I think, because it was just coming out of, I think 2001, 2002, around the same time was the first time I did a tour. And like, I remember the first US tour I was on, I had like a phone card from Costco.
Yeah.
Cause I didn't,
Sure.
it's like, and then
no cell phones, no GPS. I mean, this is still, we weren't quite in the 80s, it was definitely,
I had a MapQuest binder printed out. And I remember one time I was like, it kept screwing me, the MapQuest stuff. So I'm like, ah! I like threw it out a window or something. And I went to Target and I bought like an atlas.
Oh yeah. Thomas guy.
And like a week later,
yeah.
I look on the back and it was a MapQuest atlas. I'm like, oh, damn it. But it was a while before I even had a phone. And then, it's definitely not the same, but like there is something to, like when you read Get in the Van or something about like old Black Flag shit, you're like, they just roll into a town to find a payphone and call someone. Like, that's crazy.
It's so funny. My friend Brian Duran is doing a documentary about Lounge Acts, the club in Chicago that closed early on there. And he was talking about, like looking for, stories about touring in the early 2000s before phones. And I just had written him. I was like, we did a few with just the map books, or you just get one big map and you get a map for every state and try to figure it out, or for the city maps, the insets, where they kind of blow it up. And then we did splurge. And I think we like stole a Garmin GPS from Office
Tom-Toms and Garmin.
Yeah, the Tom-Tom. Oh yeah, the Garmins, and it changed everything. It was great. It was annoying as hell and wasn't always fast. You like turn now. You're like, wait, we just passed it. But it was better than what we had. But we did a tour. Our first tour we did in Europe was 2005, and we didn't have anything. It was really off the grid because we couldn't afford anything. We drove ourselves, and we called it like the old school GPS, where we just get into the center of town. You roughly could follow the signs and get to the center of town, and then just try to look for a punk or anyone under the age of 30. I'm like, do you know where this squat is? It's like by a cemetery squat, and try to just say the words. And the best would be if they just like jumped in the car with you, like, oh yeah, here. I'll just, we'd follow people on their like mopeds or like on their bikes, and we just drive really slow behind them, and they'd take us to the venue. But sometimes, they would be cool, and they're just like, yeah, I'll just jump in the car. And then here we are, we're just letting strangers into the car in the middle of Europe with no cell phone.
That's wild. That's wild East shit, man. Yeah. I think the first time we were there was 2007, but we had someone with us, and we had like a GPS for sure.
Helps. Yeah, that 2005 one was rough, and we drove ourselves and we kind of lost our minds, and we're late for shows, and just but it was like, it was booked like. We'd have 2 shows and then like 5 days off. So we try to just like stay at the squat for a while. Like, can we just crash here for a few days? We don't have anywhere else to be. And, we don't want to spend any money. So we would just eat weird dumpster dive food and like sleep on the floor, and then
Pallets somewhere.
use weird like hay like outhouses. You'd have to like take a thing of hay in there with you and throw it under.
Oh
All
yeah,
kinds of shit.
man,
It was
that was
wild.
that brings back some weird memories.
Yeah.
For me these days, anytime something happens like weird or adverse on tours, like the thing is like if I didn't die, it's a good story.
Yeah. It's a character builder. We always call those shows where no one shows up. These are the character builders.
Suffering builds character, as my dad always said.
Yeah. No, you do a lot of that. That's part of the fun of it. So tell me about with Sweat. So how is this the first record? I didn't. Pardon me. I didn't do all the research on it. Like where is
no?
This
is a third
record.
LP.
Okay.
So we have I didn't. I started talking about something else.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
When I was talking about it was
I'm going off on
the
tangents.
first 7-inch came out. The first 7-inch came out the week of lockdown.
Okay. So 2 7-inches, and this is a full length, though, right? Is that what you're?
Yeah,
okay.
And then we did in 22. We did a full length LP.
Okay.
23, we had a split with a band called Negative Blast from San Diego. 24, we had an LP, and this is a third LP.
Got it.
26.
Okay.
So
like
it's been. That was my commentary about it being like relatively accelerated.
Okay. Oh, you had mentioned the 2 7-inches in this record. I was like, oh wait, I think there's like that's not that accelerated. I wasn't going to say anything, but no, 3 records and 2 7-inches in under 6 years is that's super fast.
And one of the records was put out by some of my friends at Pirates Press when they were starting to do actual records, like the first LP was, but everything else I put out on my own label, which is called Vitriol.
Yeah, tell me about the label. How'd you start the label, and how's that been?
Do you remember Level Plane Records?
No, were they in?
It was Greg Drudy that was in. I think he was originally in UNI. He was the first drummer of Interpol before they blew up. He was in. He put out a bunch of records for basically like the Northeast kind of like late 90s, mid aughts kind of like screamo thing going on, like where Jerome Stream kind of would fall now and some of that stuff. But my bands, one was called Graph Warlock, one was called Ghost Limb, and none of those, it didn't sound like any of that stuff, but we had met playing at ABC No Rio actually one year. And he put out 2 Graph Warlock records and 1 Ghost Limb record. Those would have been up until maybe 2008. And we were doing both of those bands together. We're doing a Euro tour in 2009. That was like a month or 5 weeks long or something like that. And it was the beginning of 2009. I was like, hey, what's up? We're trying to put out these 2 records. And he just disappeared. He like cut and ran, ended his label.
Whoa.
After, I don't know how many years, 10 at least. And then I was like, fuck, I got to like put these records out. So I just put them out. And those are the first 2 releases of the label. So,
necessity.
And now that was in 2009. So I'm 17 years in, I guess, in May or June.
That's wild.
And I'm just on the doorstep. I just recorded a record this weekend with my other band called Generation Suicida, and we're doing that's like 79, release 79. So it's that many.
That's great.
Since then.
And
it's definitely like I got debts no honest man can pay, but to me it's a lot of this stuff is a recordation of time and place, and my job outside of doing all this stuff is I'm a historian, so it makes sense to
document
to do all this and
place.
Have it. And like for the most part, the reality is like even if you toured a lot and you're kind of a sizable band or sizable within some regard,
that changes every year.
It's not that easy.
Yeah.
It's not that easy to get someone else to put out something for you. Also, I don't want to have to talk to anybody about it. I've done die cuts and pop-ups, and like this new Sweat LP is like a tip-on sleeve, and like the last 2 were, and it's like I don't want anyone to tell me something's expensive. I don't want to hear it. And so some of the records in the catalog are like kind of, I'm not talking about like screen printing a paper bag from like 1995. It's like, it's thoughtful on the materials and all that stuff. And I like that. And I like no one telling me anything about it. So
Yeah.
that has been the ongoing struggle to actually sell the records once they're printed.
Yeah, my bandmate in No Age, Dean, runs a label, PPM, and I've been, we've been playing in bands since he started the label, and so I get to see what running a label is from a non-financial standpoint. I have no money invested in it, and so I'm just like, wow, this is a lot. But again, I think it's the devil's in the details. It's those things, you know what I mean, that he gets really excited about. And so I've learned all these terms through him, and I'm just like, I think I come at it where like, oh, cool, it looks good. I don't know. I like it. I can appreciate it now. I understand it all, but I feel like for me, I've always really, I get so excited about the music side, like the writing, the recording, all of the kind of the nerdy stuff on that level. Like, did you hear what kind of mic is on the kick drum? Did you hear those are ribbons overhead? They can really, I have my own nerdy lane I hang out in, but the spot varnish
over time,
the spot varnish on the thing, it's like,
oh yeah,
that looks expensive. I hope it was worth
paper thickness.
Yeah.
Like
oh yeah, tip on.
I'm not like I like tip on stuff because I don't know. I have a feeling this. I mean, in the last at least 10 years, like if you're gonna go through the trouble, for instance, like the music process part, like by the time it's mixed and mastered, if you're talking about pressing, you're like still 4 months away from having it done, right? But if you were to just choose to put it online or something without any actual physical thing, I don't know. I want, a lot of people digest music that way these days. And I want, if someone's going to get it, that's another element of the art, right? Like if you're going to bother wasting the petrochemical materials to make something, it better be worth having.
Right. Yes. No, I'm a strong believer in that too. And I can appreciate, I shouldn't, I think I say it flippantly, like, whatever, it looks how it looks. I think I've gone through the ringer, we've invested a lot of time, effort, and energy in design work and the artwork of things. And it's, we were talking about Metallica earlier. We No Age's first record for Sub Pop got nominated for a Grammy for packaging, which I didn't even know was a Grammy. I don't know how we got into this.
Well, that's amazing.
But we lost to Metallica with their record Death Magnetic, with the CD booklet with all of the cutouts and everything. Yeah. So we didn't end up going because we were on tour in Australia at the time, and it was like this kind of feeling like, oh, you guys should be there, you guys should go there, but we'd have to cut the tour short. And so our friend who we designed the record with, he went, and he's gone on to have a very lucrative professional design career, which is kind of his bread and butter anyway. We designed That's it. Awesome. We worked with him to design it, but we also we got to go out and tour and everything. So it all worked out the right way. But we spent so much time, because again, it's that feeling of like, hey, if you're going to buy a CD in 2008, like, even by that point, we knew like this is not really a lasting thing. But if we make it a cool kind of like book, zine, sort of document of a time and place, and really like paint a picture with this whole thing, kind of set the I don't know, the picture of where this record came from and who we were as a band and what was happening at that time. We felt like then it was worth it.
Respect. That's my rule, is that if there's any show that I want to go to or something, like if there's another band I want to see, but somehow one of my shows conflicts with it, that I'll always play my own show.
Sure.
Because
that's,
I know that I've lost out. I've lost out on seeing a lot of things I wanted to see, but respect to you for not coming back and doing that tour, because that's like a lot of people will be like, whoa, we're going to the Grammys, or like, let's go, like just cut the last 5 shows in Melbourne.
Yeah, no, I feel like it was the kind of thing too, where like we knew whatever happened, we weren't going to win. We didn't think, because we weren't that kind of band. We always kind of knew, and I think by that point in the roller coaster of like, oh shit, we're on a big label, oh shit, we're doing this, we're doing that, like it really got the reality was we're playing shows, and that's real. When there's people in front of you and you're playing a show and you see a crowd and that feeling, like that's real. And everything else, the whatever record label stuff, or the what I mean, the like the press or the PR, the interview or the TV show or the thing, it's like the best it goes, you're still just you're still stuck on the line, you're still paying the bill. It's your money is paying for the label to promote you, they're using your money to promote you, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a weird thing. It's like
recoupable.
They'll take you out to dinner afterwards and you're like, guys are just fucking charging this to us. Like, we don't even want to be.
Yeah, I'm going to get a bill for
yeah,
this
we don't
dinner.
even want to go to this dinner. Like, just all go fucking get some Del Taco and call it a day. Like, yeah, it's cool.
Ooh.
You know, good job. We did.
You're a man after my own heart. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Though, yeah.
Did you find, and I don't know if this is like a controversial question, but how did you find your experience to be on Sub Pop?
It was all right, you know, not really, but by the end of the day, we got a lot out of it. You know what I mean? It's like anything, it's a business, right? Those are the business decisions. Mm-hmm. We were never friends. You know, we tried, we thought, you know, there's a lot of like charismatic people there, and we were charismatic, and there was a lot of like, hey, this could be fun. It's kind of like, you know, dating somebody, but at the end of it, it's like, let's just walk away cleanly, you know, so nobody owes anybody anything. And we did that, but I think it was, you know, it was beneficial to both sides. At the end, we probably got more out of it than they did, which is probably why it ended. You know what I mean? I think if it was the other way around.
Oh yeah.
So we got a lot of notoriety for it early on, and I think it was good for us in those early days. I think it added some validity to what we were doing, you know, and it was a thing that, like, you know, and again, it's a place and time, like, you know, 2007, 2008, when this came out, like Sub Pop meant something, and what we were doing meant something, and this coming together kind of had a meaning of some sort. You know, it's hard to you know, I feel like I'm trying to explain to my kids, and they're like, well, I don't know, whatever, Dad. They don't care. But
no, it's like I never really get to ask anybody that, and I was just curious, given that we're talking about labels.
Oh yeah.
And what?
No.
It's like
what were you gonna say?
I don't want to pull you too far.
Oh no, I could talk a lot about it. I don't owe anybody anything, and I think it was the kind of thing that it was a wild adventure. It was the kind of thing like when we started No Age, it was a big question of like, how far can we push this thing? Like, how many doors can we get to open? Because the band No Age was born out of the ashes of another band where we sort of ran face first into every obstacle, you know, and like tripped over our feet more times than
what was that band?
The band was called Wives, and it was a 3-piece.
Oh yeah, right. Wives meant
and the drummer was part of the Me Too movement before it was given that name, so we kicked him out as soon as we found out about that, and replaced him.
I see.
And then we did a tour, and we put it from, you know, did this record, but it was really once that was known about him, and once we knew that about him, and once it was public and everything, we're just like, this name, everything fucking sucks. These songs suck. This band sucks. We suck for even being in a band with this guy.
Tied to
that
legacy.
So it really, it needed to end, you know, in that kind of way. But through that happening, Dean and I started writing music together in a way. We're like, oh, this could be something different. So it felt like something new and weirder was going to be if we wanted to keep playing music.
Also,
together.
It's good traveling, having only two people.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we were able to, you know, it was less expensive. You know, we figured out like the shows where we made money were in New York and LA. So we could get a plane ticket, you know, for like $200 each and go fly to play a weekend of shows, play 3 shows, make $600. And 2 plane tickets were $400, you know, so we'd each come home with $100. You know, for a weekend of playing shows in New York early on, and it seemed to get people's attention. That's that sort of stuff of like, why are we touring? Why are we losing all the money driving through the South, New York, Midwest? Yeah, like let's just fly to New York, and then from there and then like, well, let's just fly to London. Like that's a good show there. And so we try to learn from our mistakes and try to do that stuff. So it was a lot of what we tried to do was in this not financially, but it was like being frugal and being smart. So that Sub Pop thing was sort of part of that too. It was like, cool, this will probably open doors. So like I say, it was a good experience in that way. And then by the end, I think we just kind of felt like there was a lot of turnover. Like the people who are our fans internally, like every year somebody would leave. So by the time we put out our last record, we didn't really know many of the people that worked there. We didn't have a personal relationship with them. And so they were sort of stuck with us, but they were promoting something that they weren't really fans of. And we were working with people that weren't really fans of ours. So it was kind of like, okay, well, this is
the like incentive there doesn't exist for them. It just becomes fiscal, right?
Yeah. I think that's kind of what it came down to by the end. And like, okay, this isn't as fun as it was when we were first starting out. And I think the bloom is also off the rose because we didn't sell 1 million records. You know, we didn't become the next Nirvana or whatever their expectations were. And so it's sort of like,
sorry, Sub Pop.
Yeah, like we tried. I don't know. We were the weird band we always wanted to be, and we kept getting weirder, and it was fun. But you know, I mean, what was your experience like with, you know, as in all the bands? You know, obviously you started your own label, but were you you know, you said you put out some records with other labels. Like, how was that sort of received Like, how do you?
I mean,
look at that stuff?
everything was always pretty DIY.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and I would say that I operate at the pinnacle of DIY still, but it was based on relationships, which makes, you know, the description of your late era at Sub Pop like weird to me, because the whole thing is like, I don't mean this in like a popularity way, but the whole thing is based on your reputation as a person that will, you know, like follow through and not screw people over. And like, if someone asks you about a show and you say you'll book a show, you'll book a show. If, you know, it's like, and you expect the same thing from other people, and that you're not going to pressing a record and not tell the band and not take a certain amount, or not screw them on the back end. So like, I don't know. I feel the same way that I did when I started, and that's the important part. You know, it's like, yes, when money gets involved, it's best to be out in the open with everything, and then you don't have that problem. And even if it's like, yo, I can't do this thing because it doesn't make sense. Like, you decide you never want to play a show. Doesn't make sense to put out a record.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
You know
you can
be
upfront about it, and it's no hard feelings. It's not personal.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd love to put you guys out, but you're not promoting yourselves, or you're not, you know, why would we do this?
And I feel like in the long term of the relationships I have with people, or maybe like the last 25 years, you know, in Europe and here specifically, maybe some in Australia and some of our friends in Japan, it's all that. So I haven't had too many experiences where I got like screwed by a monster label, or I just would never, even there's a period of time when there were some labels that were like gaining some momentum in the mid-aughts that wanted to do stuff that was a little bit more on the business side, dealing with recoupables and all that shit. And I just like didn't want to get involved. Like, I will buy my own van.
Oh,
you know, like I just don't want to, I don't want to have to owe people money. And I'm not saying that I make money. No. Like, the label is mostly just sustainable, but you know, I can walk into my garage and I have all the records there. I don't have to like ask someone and then owe them.
You're not paying for storage. You don't charge your band storage fees, like 19 cents a record
no.
Every month, and you don't give them a statement. Well, it looks like now you guys owe me money for storing your records, or I could charge you 9 cents a record to destroy them, or this kind of game. That
Dude, I started doing fulfillment, like just web store stuff for a couple of my friends' bands that were like, I was in other bands with. And that was the whole thing, is that they were, you know, like mostly had normal jobs or whatever, and weren't mailing stuff all the time. And we're paying someone to just have stuff in the warehouse, like you just said, like 25 cents a CD to have it sit on the shelf. I was like, I will do that and just pay me per order, and I'll just handle it. So, because I mail stuff all the time anyways.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's like, it takes the kind of corporatism out of it that has been screwing everybody in music all the time. You know what I mean? And if we can, you know, like do a record and like book a tour on our own or with friends in other places, have like Justin do the PR on a record release, have like my friend in the Bay does a recording, like one of my other friends does the art, or whatever the record might be. You can like cut all these people out.
Totally.
And it's in a smaller scale than it would be at something else, but there's no, like I said before, you don't have to ask anybody about anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, we came from so much of the DIY culture, and it was that fun experiment of like, okay, how far can we push this thing until it teeters and falls apart, or until we get kicked out, or that kind of feeling, you know.
You guys were, you would play the Smell a lot back in the day, right?
Yeah. That's kind of where we got our start.
I recall those days.
Yeah, there was so much fun. I mean, that's kind of really, you know, what our like, you know, it was our clubhouse, or our kind of experimental sort of ground, and all our friends would play there, and it was just you know, we'd write a song that morning and then go play that night. You know, we'd have shows, and, you know, book friends shows, and then book, you know, Dean was putting out records.
I think I saw you did an interview with Jim Smith.
Yeah, I've done a bunch.
Oh,
I've done a bunch with Jim. Yeah.
And that like sparked my memory, 'cause I was there not that long. I played there throughout the years.
It's awesome.
A million
times.
It's
such an incredible resource.
It still blows my mind that he's always there.
Yeah.
Like he's handling every time I go there, like, hey man, like you should like outsource this.
Yeah, I think he wants to be there a lot of times. You know, he has the volunteer book, and there's so many people there, you know, that do lend a hand. You know,
I mean,
yeah, no, he's
kudos to him.
It's incredible.
I I love that. It's like, it's in a weird way, it sounds weird, but it's like true commitment. You know, you're like seeing through the thing that you plan to do at a certain point, and like I've never seen anybody run anything really there but him.
Yeah.
So I was there in September. One of my friends' bands from Japan was playing, and I was just like hanging out. I'm like, man, like I feel like it's one of those places that was like a touchstone throughout my life. You know, like from '99 or whenever the first time I went there, I was in high school, and we got to play there, and you know, I played there every year or every 2 years or something, and I played there quite a few times with Justin.
That's
Justin's
awesome.
bands too.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's really, I feel like it taught us so much and really was this like unequatable lesson and just how to really run stuff in DIY and how to be punk and how to just make it make sense.
Yeah,
and it's a
responsibly.
7/30 or 70/30 split, you know, where the band gets the 70%, the 30% goes to this. And just in terms of how
it's responsible
yeah.
and organized.
Exactly.
And that's like what's so much, it's like what so much in DIY falters on. And to be quite honest, the entirety of the left falters on is organization and keeping things going in a sustainable way.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
like,
we always joke
you know,
too. I mean, it was a benevolent dictatorship too. He didn't really run it by committee. I don't think he's obviously not in it for himself. You know, it's not called the Jim Smith Presents the Smell Club. You know what I mean? He's doing it for all the right reasons. But at the end of the day, it's a one man job. If anything has to get done or not done, or money has to get spent or not spent, or if you say yes or no to something, there's one person to do it, and I think that keeps it fairly productive because he's the right person to do it. But you see stuff in the very kind of like almost anarcho, there's no rules kind of punk house way, and you're just like, you gotta have a committee meeting for everything. Like nothing's fucking getting done. You guys are fucking bullshitting around about like who cleans the shit rag. No one wants to fucking clean the shit rag. The chore wheel sucks. This shit ain't gonna work, guys. Everyone's. It is
the sad reality of maybe sad, maybe just the reality of egalitarianism. You know, it's like it can still produce, you know, equitable outcomes, but it really is true that there has to, and it's like a band or a label or anything else. It's like someone has to take responsibility and I guess a modicum of risk if something has an abject failure.
Yeah.
But like, it would be like having like 4 people in a band and no one really does anything. Like you just don't have a band.
Right. Nothing really developed. There's lots of bands like that. I've been in those. I've seen those. We got the chance to go to the Dial House in England one time on tour.
Essex?
Yeah. And we met G and Penny briefly, but it was the same kind of sort of vibe. I mean, it's very, hippie commune, but still it's their house, and they kind of run it, and anyone can go there and anyone can live there, but you got to chip in. But it didn't seem as like crust punk as you would think. It was much more like a farm, sort of like sanctuary sort of thing, but they ran it. There were leaders in this thing. It wasn't a free for all, like who knows who's in charge. It's like, well, no, they're in charge. Penny and G it's their vibe, it's their thing, and then everybody can kind of has to chip in. And if you don't chip in, get the fuck out. This isn't a free ride, but you can contribute. Yeah. So it was like it kind of had a similar vibe to.
I wouldn't expect something like that the last 50 years.
Right. That's what I'm saying is,
I mean, the Dial.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, it's like, I wouldn't expect something otherwise to last for 50 years. It's like, and I think because of the politics of Crass and Penny Rainbow and, like as one of the main kind of ideologues of Crass, people would expect kind of like a disorganized hippie commune, but it's like, there's no authority but yourself, and organization are not mutually exclusive things in my mind. It's like, if you really want to have some type of efficacy, there needs to be some type of understanding of how things work and how, like, allocation of labor or whatever it might be.
Yeah, no, and it's just, it comes down to really getting shit done and being productive. I mean, yeah, we were able to record a few songs at Southern Records also, which they were no longer part of, but at the house and at that studio. And again, it's just like, for us, we're just such big fans of so much of the stuff, and the opportunity with it, when it came up, we just jumped on top of all of this stuff. And again, that's some of that, not necessarily a sub pop thing, but again, it was like we felt comfortable enough, like, okay, we can take advantage of the stuff. We know there's a label there. But I want to get back to what you said too about the whole idea of like a van or like tour support and stuff. We never did that because that didn't really make sense, and like we never had a manager. We still did stuff in a very punk way, but it was that we were trying, I think, to always like not just be a parrot of something. Like, well, if Ian MacKaye wouldn't do this, then we won't do it. But it was like, like what would Ian do? What would Henry do? What would this do? What I mean? Like we wanted to think for ourselves and sort of go like, see, does this work for us and for who we are at this point in this time? Like, how does this make sense? Versus just kind of like blindly following some kind of like punk guru sort of vibe. It's like a lot of that shit made sense for those dudes at the time. And even, like talking to Ian and getting to know him, it was like $5 was what the price of movies cost. It wasn't literally about a $5 bill for a show was some egalitarian, like, sacred idea. They charged that because that's what a movie ticket was. And you could go see this band for the same, or you could go see a movie. And that was sort of the same idea. And as he's played shows through with the events and stuff, I've had conversations like, what's the price of a movie? It's like, it's like $15. I don't know. It's like $17. That's $20. That's what the ticket price should be. And it's like, okay, fair enough.
This is what Coos stuck with for a really long time, the $5 thing. And I remember even at some point before it closed down in the mid-aughts being like, you have 5 bands playing each, and does each band even get $1 like of that door? And you're talking about like each person pays a gallon of gas to get into the show. Like, that's weird. And the point that you made about like, I noticed this when American Hardcore came out, and I think this was in 2007, 2008, that documentary. And there started to be a historicization of that first kind of wave of hardcore, or like the first early canon years of hardcore. And I think that one of the things that dawned on me was that you see a flyer and it's like Misfits and Minor Threat and Necros and stuff. Be like, oh, I'd like punch myself in the face to go see that show. But then you see pictures of that show and there's like 50 people, there's like 40 people there or something. You know what I mean? It's like not what you think it is. Granted, Black Flag towards the end, they were playing like 1,000 cap rooms all the time. But it's what you said about like sticking to this kind of ideology that is out of time and place for now is like not really useful. Not a useful like application of any ideas because you're living in the past. Like, a lot of people argue or have this like understanding that history is like history repeats itself. It's just a circle. It's an Ouroboros or whatever, but it's more of like an ellipse, right? Like there are elements that relate to each other that have kind of echoes, but it's always different. And if you stick to an economic model from 1981, like, no shit, we're all broke. Like, what do you expect?
Yeah.
It took me forever to like even make a shirt $15 and a record $15. Now I'm like, I try really hard to sell records for $20 only, and it's after COVID, the price of pressing like basically doubled. So you were doing $10 for everything that's worth having. And that's just how it goes. And I try not to like beat myself up about it, especially if you're dumping $10,000 into something. But
yeah, and you just hope and that's my appeal here every week on this show. I sort of end it with a little prologue, or I started with like, support DIY arts, support your bands, go to your local show wherever it is, and just give the fucking band $20 if you can do it. You know what I mean? If you got a gig that works and you get something out of this culture and this community, buy the records, buy the posters, buy the zines, and fuck it, just give them money. Because they need it and they're doing it. Yeah. They're doing something. Everyone's hurting these days. And if you're fortunate enough to do it, and even if you're not, like, if you got time, if you're not working and you don't have the money, if you got time, like, go volunteer. Like, you'll be so much happier. Stay after the show and sweep up and give the bands a hand loading their shit in the car. Or offer to watch the car while they're loading other shit or something. You know what I mean? Like, just
please
do something.
Please. Yeah.
So, who knows? Or grab some waters for them or something, man. I don't know.
If you have 5 people will give you $20 in the course of even 2 shows just to be supportive, you have a tank of gas, which is like,
it's huge.
In a van is sick, like you can get to the next place. And I think that's true. I mean, the kind of TikTokification of music in the last couple of years.
Fuck,
And
I'm so out of the loop on that. But yeah, tell me.
I mean, it just turned everything into
yeah.
whatever 15-second loops.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like, I think it's really interesting because sometimes when that stuff, like a song, like gets in one of those and it becomes like viral or whatever. You know, John Darnell and Mountain Goats?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. One of the Mountain Goat songs from like a record in the late 90s, early 2000s from that Tallahassee record called No Children, it got in one of the TikTok things and it's like has 50 million streams or something crazy now. And you're like, it completely bastardizes me. Like, I'm stoked for them. Like, get that money. But
is there money to be made from that? I don't even know if there is. You know? What I mean?
Yeah. It's like monetization
on TikTok. Will pay out for the use of a song, or no? Who pays out for that?
It ended up reflecting in their actual streams.
Oh, I see.
Of other things.
Yeah.
But
that makes sense, I guess. But even still, that's fucking pennies on a dollar. You're gonna get 50
million plays.
50 million times 0.008. I guess will turn into a couple. Maybe you get $100,000, which again, nothing to sneeze at. I wouldn't say no to that. But you look at the translation of it.
But my point is like that whole thing about money and how money works, and I think even people in some of the bands that I've been in don't understand how money works. You know, and how much things cost and plane tickets cost if you want to go somewhere. So
it's gnarly. And gas, like you said, gas and just, car upkeep, all of it. You know what I mean? Like keeping a van running.
Basic support.
Yeah.
Like if you want a venue to stay open, you got to go to it.
Right. Yes.
Like, I don't know what to say. Like if you want a record store to exist that like you maybe, even if you don't go there that often, you want to go once a month or every couple of months. If you want that record store to still be there, you got to buy something from them.
Yep.
Like it's simple economics.
Yeah. Oh no, it's You got to support. What was? I remember it was King Kong and Barbecue Show, or maybe it was just a barbecue show song, but that was like a band, back in the day, and they had the
that was one of those songs.
One of those things. So you heard it everywhere. And I'm just like, I know they're not making any fucking money on this. Every time I heard it, I was just like, if they, you know what I mean? Like they should, I wish he would have booked like tours of like big theaters off of the back of that. Like if everyone just knew like, this is the guy that did that thing. And then, he plays it at the beginning, he plays it 42 times in the set and just like, fuck yeah. Thank you, everybody. That's $50 a ticket.
Bye,
he should have figured something else to do with it, but it was just, it's so weird. And that's
like, It's like the Gin Blossoms. One of my friends saw Gin Blossoms play, and they played Hey Jealousy like twice at the beginning, and they play like in the middle and play at the end. Yeah.
Shine the penny. Like, this is what you guys came for. Like, I don't want to fight. I got a ticket.
Reading the audience.
I got a ticket to see Oasis from a friend, and I was like, cool. And I started thinking, I was like, I like some of the songs. There's probably a good 5-6 songs. I don't know all of it, but I know what I like, and I saw them back in the day, and it's cool. And fuck, man, it was 2 hours of like, okay, I know that song, and like, fuck are all these songs? And then the encore is like a half hour long, and it was all the great songs. It's like, you really got to spread that around, man. That fucking sucked. Especially being in a giant stadium, and you're like, I don't even know what the song is. And you're like, I don't know. It was definitely
$20 beers.
Oh yeah, the whole stadium experience. You know what I mean? It was one of those things. Like, I was glad I got to see it. And, the hype was real. For men of our age. I felt the pressure of it all. And
everyone went to that.
Yeah, too. I got a bucket hat, and
I remember
the guy was selling like bucket hats. I was like, sure, let's fucking go. I'm here. I'm in. Let's go. But
I can't remember the last every now and then I like a bunch of different stuff and I go to shows, but I can't remember going to a show that big. Like the last maybe really big show I went to was at the Hollywood Bowl, which I like going to.
Who'd you see?
But it was The Cure.
Oh yeah, totally.
The Cure.
You gotta go. So I'm like, yep. My wife went to that with her sister. Yeah, they had a great time. It was great. You got to go when you can.
It's perfect. But I don't know about it's a weird thing to me when bands get back together and their biggest show is a reunion show. Like that seems in a weird, just logistically strange because, I know that a bunch of bands get back together all the time. And my typical view of it is like every Euro festival is headlined by like an American band that got back together. And I'm like, stop doing that. there are bands that are still around. It's like, I don't want to have to compete with every band that's ever existed.
Well,
You know what I
especially
mean?
when people have passed, and you're like, how many original members are up there? Like it starts to do the math.
I know
Like,
there's
one guy,
exceptions
one
and
guy
stuff
who's
like
real
that.
old, and the rest all look like they're his kids. Like he took his kids, friends. So like, okay, you guys are all going to support me on this tour. Let's go.
And they're all involved in some like litigation over like the legacy of their band. And, it's like, even in kind of like the hardcore world, I've noticed this has happened sometimes. I'm like, does that kind of marginal band of a larger band side project really need to be playing in Tokyo right now? Like, probably not.
Yeah. It's a weird, but again, hey, everybody, if you want to spend the money to go do it and go see that band, good for you. Like even, whatever this version of the Greg Ginn and the Kids, Black Flag thing is. It's like, if you want to spend the money, you can. He's there. He's selling tickets.
Yeah.
He's selling t-shirts. If that's what you want to support, you certainly can. I'm not going, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't, I guess. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It's the late Black Flag and the latter Misfits, right? They've taken over time to destroying their legacies. And I mean, it's really become, it becomes kind of a t-shirt brand at that point.
And I don't know you, because we're of the similar age and maybe, around the same ideas that you probably, like, for me growing up in Southern California, and I've talked with other people about this and it doesn't always ring true, but you might relate to it. But the kids growing up in, the Inland Empire in the 90s, the jocks wore Misfits shirts. The kids, that played on the high school like sports teams had Misfits shirts on, or had Black Flag shirts, or had this thing because it was commodification through Hot Topic. Like you could buy all that shit at fucking Hot Topic, and you could buy a studded belt and a thing and put Liberty Spikes on, or like striped shirts, and it was like, it felt commodified even at that time, and this is 30 years ago. And so I already could see that in those kind of ways. There was like a performative, like, you guys are dressing up like a punk, like a punk person for Halloween, and now you're just making that part of your day-to-day thing. Whereas I felt like I kind of identified with this kind of mathy or math rock noisy, sort of thing that felt a little bit more like, this is kind of stabbing you in the eye. Like, this is a guy playing Static for 45 minutes. And it's like, this is really abrasive. And this feels like what punk, like internally, that spirit of just pissing everybody off and really being uncomfortable and really challenging an audience and challenging an artist and all these kind of feelings. And I was like, and they're just wearing weird, like, Keds and like thrift store, like, Dickies and thrift store button ups. I was like, I can kind of like go with that world, because it just felt like cheap and dirty and gross and weird, more so than like buying a studded belt on Melrose. And you're like, that's a fucking $50 belt. I don't have $50.
I remember,
off. Like,
even
creepers,
today,
you got creepers.
Even today, people that are super, like, have a kind of a costume, that shit's not cheap. Like they roll out their show like super costumed out. I talked to a couple people, Recess Records, and Todd from FYP. I was talking to him about this not that long ago, because 94 is like the year that everything, that all that, like,
sure, Green
quote
Day,
unquote, I mean, it was punk and various versions of it, but it became like the thing, right? And then you have at a certain point in, like, in regards to the Misfits thing, it's like the Misfits got back together as a kind of the fake Misfits in 95 or 96, and that became like a deal literally with Hot Topic. And Black Flag, I remember at that time, was still one of the things. I didn't sense that it was that commodified yet.
Okay.
But like in my world, but that was because they hadn't gotten back together.
Right.
And like, so I think about this often, because when we grew up getting into music, people our age, it's like we dropped right in the middle of, like, none of the canon bands were around anymore, right? Like Minor Threat was over, Black Flag was over. I think Descendants just got back together in that period of time. Like, all that stuff from that area that were the classic canon bands, even in Orange County, right? Like Agent Orange, GSOL, Adolescence, and all those bands, right? Like, everyone was just out of the mix. And there was a whole bunch of new weird stuff going on. But then when that came back, like some of the canon bands from back in the day, when it came back and it was sold like widespread, it like took off in this weird kind of trademarking frenzy of like what you're talking about, right? And then it becomes kind of like the outfit of like a popular thing. I was never like a crusty or anything, but
yeah. There's it's such a fine line. Well, because I mean, you also have like Epitaph sort of ruling a certain form of like their candy colored punk thing through the Offspring, and then out with like
not my favorite music.
No, exactly. Now that's what I call punk or punkorama, the thing, and it's like okay, I'm willing to like, hey, I'm a kid.
Fat and
Epitaph. You know what I mean?
Epitaph,
there's a lot of that stuff out there. I'm like young. I'm willing to take up I want to know about punk. I like this punk idea. This is something that feels right to me. And you get that stuff and you're just like, I'm choking on shit. I can't fucking swallow this. What the fuck is happening?
Of that whole realm, like ideologically, Propaganda appealed to me in the same way that Crass did. And like I like, maybe I can't speak to the late era stuff, but like they became more thrashy and that even appealed to me more. And, I always loved, as a byproduct of Propaganda, I think it got put out on Epitaph, The Weaker Thans, John K. Samson's band. Yeah. It's like one of my favorite bands. But like, the new school punk thing never appealed to me.
It was hard. Yeah. I remember I went to a skate like demo thing at a friend's skate shop in the City of Industry. And I saw, it was like Game Face and Face to Face and something
Revelation.
else. Yeah. And it was, and I was like, I'd never seen that. Like I got kicked in the head, with like a Doc Martin. It was like in the pit and it was like, 14 years old, 15 years old. And I was like, this was awesome. Face to Face was still like, that's the not so guilty pleasure between Dean and I in No Age. At some point when the tour is getting really long, we've been out there for a long time, and you got to do the 2-hour drive outside of town to stay somewhere cheaper, like don't turn away comes on. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do it. No, don't do it. Don't do it. We're singing along in the car.
Well,
you don't know what you are giving.
You're free to have the guilty pleasures.
Yeah,
and that's fucking time and place if anything ever was.
Exactly.
Like
takes me right back.
The Game Face thing is funny because they were a band on Revelation. I deal a lot with Revelation because I kind of grew up with some of the people in it. And I do some distro stuff there, and it's across the street from my work. So whenever they need distro stuff, I go in. And even I was having trouble with like my international shipping, and they were Revelation's actually doing the international pre-orders for the Sweat record. So awesome. Like that's my relationship. But I was never really about all the bands. There were some of them I liked, but it's the biggest labels at that time period all had kind of weird shit going on.
Yeah, and you just never know what it was that comes out of it. But I think that's the best part of it. I really like the appeal, or the way I kind of took punk in that sort of way, was like whatever it means to you. You know what I mean? I think that's sort of like the Mike Watt, D Boon sort of thing. Like punk is what you make it. That kind of feeling of like it's an internal thing, and and if it makes sense to you, then that's fucking punk. Like spoken word, all that that shit's punk. This shit's punk. Like you could feel it. When someone means it and they're honest, it's not about what you say, what you dress like. It's about who you can feel the band on stage, and if they're locked in and they fucking mean it, and it's like, this is great. I don't know, this is techno music, this is fucking disco music, but that fucking band is tight and they're all in. They all believe in the same. You can just feel it. And I don't know. To me, that's just always what I'm looking for in any band that I'm.
I said this to someone at my work. Recently, I said something like that to someone at my work who was asking me about like, oh, what kind of music do you play? And like
good music.
I guess like, if you say hardcore, that has other meanings. Like there's different versions of hardcore, and like you say punk, they have an idea of what, but I'm like, you have to explain like, some of this in the label, for instance, which I see as a DIY punk label. There's like stuff that's like, I put out a Misery Index record that's like a trashy grind band, and then there's stuff that kind of sounds like Dinosaur Jr., and then there's it's like all this stuff is in this kind of like it's gathered together, or it has relation to each other in the way that it's done. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying like a band could sound like a grind band could sound like His Hero's Gone band could sound like a just straight up punk band, like a garage punk band or whatever. But if they're doing it the right way, and their right way, not my right way, but like it is about how you do it. It's about and how you handle money, I think, is an important thing about like how people relate to each other, because you could kind of come at something in that world, in like a punk or hardcore world, the DIY world, and rip everybody off, I guess. And I would not consider that.
Sure.
Probably.
Yeah. No, that's the kind of stuff that not everybody knows, but internally you can feel, that. And yeah, no, it's interesting. It's an interesting world out there. But yeah, I like the question of what kind of band are you? I always say punk too. And it's like, it's such a big, weird term. But what I find is it either shuts the conversation down, real quick, like, oh, well, I like country music, or I like, they'll name some, you like Led Zeppelin? Like, sure. Okay, what do you want to talk about?
Sure,
like,
yeah,
like you go through an
man.
airport, and if you bring I usually have my guitar in a soft case, and you got to go through the TSA. What do you got in there? You fucking Jimi Hendrix? And like, yeah, sure. I don't know. Yes, let's.
Yeah, Blink 182.
Sure. Yes, let's talk about that. Yeah, but when it's good, then I've had I've had a conversation. The guy who came over to help with the internet a couple years back, and he saw I had some Black Flag stickers or posters up on the wall. And he's like, "Oh, you like Black Flag?" I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, I used to see him all the time." And they started naming all these like shows like in the Valley in the '80s, and he was like an older Mexican dude. And I was just like, "This is fucking awesome." I love all of his stories. Yes. Like, tell me more. Who else did you see? Were you at this show? Were you at that show? Like, who did you see? Like, oh, fucking, hey, you were fucking legendary, and it was just great just from having stuff up. So you never know what you're going to get out of those random conversations about punk. Most of the time it's bullshit, but it's fun one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean, the understanding outside of it is kind of strange about how people absorb that word, but
yeah.
I mean, post 94 is different.
I have this funny. Do you have kids? Are you a dad?
No.
Oh, okay. I have two.
No,
I have a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old. And this I'm curious. We'll wrap this up in a minute too. I'm taking up too much of your time, but now I'm just.
No, sorry. I'm good. I like talking. I have a growling dog.
No, it's fine. Yeah, ready to go out. But so I have there's a dad who picks up his kids the same time as I do, and I don't really know him. I don't know the kid. They're in different grades, different classes. But he was wearing a Discord shirt, and it looked old. And he's probably my age. He's old. Yeah. He's in his 40s at least. And I can't quite tell what the, I'm like, I don't know what the conversation is to even have. And then he had like a Sub Pop, like zip up hoodie. I'm like, okay, we're
like, I'm on that label.
We're in a world. Yeah. I'm like, I don't really know, but like, I want to ask him something. I want to say something, but again, we're like in this like weird, like flash point of like 5 minutes, 5 times a day where we just try to get the kids from the gate to the car, and the kids are telling about their day, or they're losing a shoe and they forgot the lunchbox and they have their sweatshirts over their head. So it's not necessarily the easiest time to strike up the conversation, because we're both dealing with our own little like tornadoes trying to get to the car. But I've seen this and I was like, okay, at some point I'll figure out what the conversation is to have. Can't quite tell. I don't know. What do you do?
Hey, I saw you wearing a Discord shirt. What are you into?
Yeah, I feel like I have to have like a missing connections thing for like the school thing for dads. Like,
yeah,
hey.
It's the same way that like people become friends in high school. Mm-hmm. You kind of walk by and glare at the person wearing a shirt that you like for a while, and then you come around and be like, hey, what's up with you?
Yeah, do you really like, know about that band?
Whatever.
You just fucking wear that shit? Yeah, that's how it feels.
Name 3 songs.
Yeah. Do you really skate, or you just wear those shoes? What the fuck you doing? What are you doing?
That's very mid-90s.
Yeah.
Like, you actually skate?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Can you kickflip? Okay, yeah, me neither. Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, me either, yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, Justin, this is awesome. Let's get the plugs in. Where can people buy the record? Where can they pre-order it? And how do they follow you and get tickets and everything?
You could follow on Instagram. There's a lot of updates for Sweat. It's Sweat_Rockers. Vitriol Records on Instagram. There's also vitriolrecords.com. Vitriolrecords.com. There's web store links for the pre-orders and everything up there. And there's the web store has a wide array of many a record I cannot sell.
Awesome. Well, I will put the links up in the show notes. Anybody who's listening to this on their phone, go down, click on the show notes, and you have the links to all the web stores and everything, and go out and buy the record and go fucking support the bands. I say it every episode. This is it. And it's fun. I like being able to talk, to bands that they're having stuff come out right now. It's like, this is literally the people you can go out there and support. They're there. They're playing shows.
I appreciate that.
So yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Justin, for coming on.
Yes. How awesome was that? And it was so fun. He had his dog running around. I'm sure you heard through the whole interview. I should put some kind of ASMR warning. There will be dog claws and a little collar, a name tag, jangling all through the interview. Oh, well, we made it through. It's good. I like it. It sets a place and time and gives mise en scene, gives ambiance to an interview. Justin, it was great talking with you. Great getting to meet you. Super stoked for the new Sweat record. I love the way it sounds. Everyone go follow Sweat_Rockers on Instagram. You can also follow Vitriol_Records on Instagram as well. Don't forget to go to vitriolrecords.bigcartel.com to buy the new record there directly. There's also so many other rad records there on vitriolrecords.bigcartel.com that you don't want to miss out. They make awesome records. It's quality pressings and printings, and it's really, you can tell it's a labor of love. So go buy some records. Don't miss out. They also got the Bandcamp, vitriolrecords.bandcamp.com. So do yourself a favor. Go listen to Sweat. Go see them on tour. They are touring now. They are... where are they today? On the 2nd, the day this comes out, Colorado Springs. Tomorrow, Albuquerque. Saturday, Tempe. And then the next following week, Saturday, 4/11 in San Diego. And Sunday, 4/12 at the Echo. Awesome band. Great record. Thank you, Justin, for coming on. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. Be well. Have a good weekend. Bye.
I was thinking about it the other day about how cowboys in American history were relatively short period of time in like American history.